Ghana's official creditors scheduled to meet on Monday to discuss restructuring some $5.4 billion in loans to the country. We'll bring you more from a Reuters report. Also coming up this afternoon, a look into the tourism sector in 2024 as the government targets 2 million tourist arrivals and $4 billion in earnings. Plus, Trade and Industry Minister K.T. Hammond criticizes surge in cement prices at the beginning of the year, despite government creating an enabling environment for businesses.
The cabal of the cement producers and importers have again conspired and decided to increase the price of 50 kilos of cement by a considerable figure. Now, I don't think that is right.
My name is Daryl Kwawu. We've got details of these stories and others coming up. Stay with us. And thanks for staying with us, everyone. Reuters is reporting that Ghana's official creditors are scheduled to meet on Monday to discuss restructuring some $5.4 billion in loans to the country, a key step needed to secure the next tranche of funding from the International Monetary Fund. The bilateral lenders, including the governments of China and France, who co-chair the creditors committee, hold around a quarter of the country's $20 billion external debt earmarked for restructuring. Here's more. The meeting, according to Reuters, is again expected to focus on an agreement about a cut-off date, the date after which new loans from bilateral creditors will not be restructured. Defining this date has emerged as a stumbling block for Ghana in its debt rework. Some creditors are said to prefer December 31, 2022 as a cut-off date, with Ghana having defaulted earlier that month, according to sources. However, others push for March 24, 2020, because that was when the Group of 20 introduced its debt service suspension initiative to help the world's poorest countries cope with the fallout of the COVID crisis. Ghana did not participate in the initiative. Reuters said in preparation for the January 8 OCC meeting, the Paris Club of major creditor nations, which does not count China among its permanent members, will convene on Friday, according to two sources. One of the sources said the Paris Club this week shared a technical note with other bilateral creditors and multilateral lenders on Ghana, adding that the group of rich nations is proposing December 2022 as cut-off date. Ghana needs to come to an agreement on a debt restructuring with its official creditors to secure the IMF Executive Board's approval for the next $600 million payout from a $3 billion rescue loan. This is because the Washington-based lender needs financing assurances that debt relief is being provided by bilateral creditors in accordance with the IMF program. Well, on Zoom with us is Associate Professor of Finance at the Andrews University in the U.S., Professor Williamsa. Happy New Year to you. Welcome to the marketplace. So, with the IMF board meeting on Ghana scheduled for the 11th of January, this meeting of official creditors on Monday should be positive news, isn't it?
Good afternoon to you, Daryl, and Happy New Year. We hope that the 2024 will be a prosperous year for all of us. So indeed, this is coming at a good news for Ghana. We have been anticipating this meeting to come out with the outcome so that we'll be able to determine how much Ghana will be able to save in terms of the external creditors restructuring of their debts. Indeed, this is very, very timely because we are just beginning the year and to be able to sustain our financial position, especially as a country. And Ghana will be able to plan very well in terms of interest payments and then to bring some confidence back on their ratings as well. So this meeting, This meeting is very significant.
So a cut-off date is for which loans have to be restructured is a major issue of contention. Why is it a major issue for the creditors?
I mean, so all the creditors are looking at their position, how much they have to lose. Let me put it in that sense. So if the March 2020 is accepted, it means that loans that were granted after March 2020 will not be part of the restructuring. This will not augur well for government because government want to be able to capture most of the loans that were granted. And so that's why the position on December 31st, 2022 is probably will be more preferred so that it will give a full picture of the entire external debt position. That is around the 29 billion or so US dollars. So the savings, each country is taking a position and they are looking at their savings that they can get out of this particular transaction. That is why it become a bone of contention. Remember, the Chinese will want all their not to lose too much. So they and also knowing that they are not classified, they are not part of the World 20 in their agenda for that debt relief. They don't want their loans to be classified as such. So that is why we've seen the two positions being made at the moment.
What would be the best possible outcome of that meeting, and what should be the posture of Ghanaian officials?
I mean, for Ghana, if you ask me, we may have to go in with a figure in mind to negotiate the 5.4 billion that we want. So whatever cutoff date that's been approved, we should be able to convince these external creditors that the 5.4 is what may help our economy to come back to be able to pay to be able to help us to complete our restructuring program. So whatever cutoff dates that may be agreed by each of the parties, whether those in the Paris Club or China, the aim should be on the 5.4 billion. That should be the kind of discussion because each of the cutoff dates will have a different figure that will be lower than the 5.4 that Ghana is anticipating to have.
So the Paris Club, we are told, is meeting today, and we know that China is not a permanent member of the club. So how will the outcome of the Paris Club meeting impact on Monday's meeting of official creditors?
I mean, the Paris Club, as I've mentioned, they may have to take a position, a collective position, before they come and meet the Chinese. Already the Chinese, they have also studied the entire situation, and they are looking at how this restructuring is not going to affect their financial position in China. China depends on interest income as a major revenue for their country. So any kind of restructuring that will let them lose interest income is not probably acceptable to them. So that is why we see that maybe the Paris Club will are meeting today to take a collective position. And then when they bring China on board, they will now listen to what China will say on Monday. And probably we may come to see two different positions because the Chinese will also table their agenda. And Ghana may have to accept the two and see how much they'll be able to get in terms of restructuring from China and also from the Paris Club. When they sum or add the two, they should come close to the $5.4 billion that Ghana is anticipating to.
So if the hurdle of the cutoff date is resolved, how close are we to securing an agreement?
I mean, then that means that we are done with our external creditors. This will pave way for the second tranche. The external creditors will issue the letter that they have agreed on a cutoff date, and based on the cutoff date, the computation of the restructuring can be done. This is very simple in an Excel format. Once we know all the debt portfolios, you set the dates, and then you come out with the parameters for doing the restructuring, whether a proper pro rate of the 5.4 for each of the parties, and then each one will know how much they are losing or forgiving Ghana. That is the picture. And once they issue their letter, IMF and I think also the World Bank is waiting for this agreement to be concluded, and then Ghana will get the funding. So indeed, the Monday's meeting on the 8th is very important, and I'm hoping that the lobbying strategy of Ghana should also be upped. The team that is going to be part of this discussion should be solid, and I'm sure by now they would have spoken to a lot of the external creditors not to drag this transaction too much, because the more it delays, it affects the financial position of Ghana and then also the confidence in the entire West African market.
I'm sure nobody wants any delays at this point, and I'm pretty sure we're going to be talking sometime next week. Thank you so much, Professor Williamsa, Associate Professor of Finance at the Andrews University. Now, President Kwawu has tasked the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture and the Ghana Tourism Authority to revamp their promotion activities to achieve the target of 2 million international arrivals by the end of this year. That, he said, will result in the corresponding earnings of some $4 billion to the national economy. In addition to the thousands of jobs to be created along the tourism value chain, President Kwawu at a presidential summit on tourism last year said he was confident that the objective can be achieved. Well, joining me with an outlook for 2024 is Emmanuel Frimpong, who is president of the Africa Tourism Research Network. Good afternoon, Happy New Year to you. How would you assess the tourism sector's performance last year?
Well, good afternoon. Happy New Year, Daryl. The tourism and hospitality industry last year did quite well. We don't have the figures yet, but if you look at the first quarter figures that was published by the Ghana Tourism Authority, it showed the sector had done well. The second, third, and then the last quarter, which is September to December, where we had December and GH, we saw a number of people that came into the country. We don't know the figures yet. So we hope the numbers might have reached the number that we're expecting, or probably beyond this. But in all, I think the industry did well last year. So going into 2024, I'm sure you've raised some questions about the target that was set by the president. So we will look into that as you ask your questions.
So the government is looking at revamping the sector. It is pumping some monies into renovating some tourist sites. It's targeting 2 million international tourist arrivals and $4 billion in earnings. Is that realistic?
I would say the figures are realistic. We should be able to get more than 2 million international arrivals into the country. That one is realistic, it's possible. 4 billion revenue, yes, we should be able to get that. But the question is, what have we done to be able to entice or get people to come, and done to be able to prepare people to come to invest, to actually put that money into the economy? So that is where the challenge is. We haven't done much. After the presidential summit at Peduase Lodge, I haven't cited any report on how we are going to do that. And then if you look at what we are supposed to do as a sector, we have what we call a public-private partnership forum, which is supposed to take place every quarter. We haven't been able to do that for some time now. So on the ground, I don't see what we have done so far to be able to attract that 2 million international arrivals.
Well, for the presidency to hold a summit on this should tell us they are serious about it. At least they've held a program to talk about it. So question is, what would it take to achieve those targets? What do you propose?
Well, so if you look at what the presidency or this government has done in terms of looking at tourism, how tourism can help, I think there has been some interest and some commitment. But on the ground, because if the president calls for a presidential summit and it's done, what happens to the agency that is supposed to also make sure that all the things that were discussed, we go ahead, sit down to look at the implementation? That has always been the problem. So if we are not able to sit down to look at the nitty-gritty of how we are going to implement it, then we all go to sleep. Nothing will happen. We will still come back next year, talk about targets 2022, 2023. We had all these targets set. Which of them were we able to achieve? I'm not sure we're able to. Till we sit down to look at, okay, this is what we want to do to achieve all these set targets. We'll talk about it, come back, and nothing will be done. That has been the problem.
I mean,
so if you ask me, what should we do to be able to? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Make your point.
Yes. So if you ask me, what should we do to be able to achieve this? I think we have documents enough, or we have sat down to strategize enough. What we need to do is to look at how do we implement it? How do we get the private sector? If you take the hotels, if you take the car rentals, if you take the restaurants, if you take the food vendors, the traditional caterers, and all the other tour operators, we need to sit down with each group and find out, okay, we want to achieve a target of employment in this sector. What can you do to help us achieve this target? Okay, we are giving you to achieve a target of 200. Area you can do to attract people who come and invest. And then we look at all the sectors, we sit down and discuss it. Then we have a team. I don't know if it is a GTA or we put all resources together and set up a team that will make sure that we are looking at implementation, monitoring, evaluation. And then also what we need to do is to decentralize the operations of the ministry or Ghana Tourism Authority. Let's resource the regional offices of GTA. Let's resource the district. If we have district offices, let's resource them. Let every district bring an idea, a region. If we are that, let's involve the MCEs. Let's involve opinion leaders, chiefs. Let's get all of them involved. If we are able to do that, then we'll be able to achieve more than what we are doing. But what we see now, almost everything is centralized, and then we deprive the regions, the districts of what they can also do to contribute, and that is not helping. And of course, we also have a problem with poor quality service. The quality service, customer care in Ghana and in the hospitality and tourism industry is poor. How are we training people in these areas? We are not doing much, and that has to be tackled.
I mean, one of the things the government also wants to promote is youth-led tourism enterprises. I think we had a conversation about that sometime last year. How would that potentially impact the tourism industry, do you think, finally?
Sorry, I didn't get a question. What the government did?
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking about one of the other things the government wants to do to improve the tourism sector, and that is to promote youth-led tourism enterprises. I was just asking how that would impact on government's overall target of making $4 billion at the end of the year.
Darl, if we are able to do that, I have worked with young people since 1996 when I went to the university. Ghanaian young people, young men and women have fantastic ideas. Just this morning, I was talking to a young man who has developed something in the tourism and hospitality sector. And yesterday, I was also engaging a young man who is also he contacted me on esports, the ideas that this guy has on esports. Together to nurture that idea, right? Just this week, African Tourism Research Network appointed somebody to be responsible for women and youth in tourism development and skills. So we need to bring these young people together to harness the ideas that they have. They have fantastic ideas, but they have nowhere to go to. They have nobody to motivate, nobody to help them. And we need to have some sort of entrepreneurship hubs around certain areas where these young people can go there. Some people will mentor them, help them to bring these ideas into fruition.
All right.
And trust me, if we are able to do that, give them resources, we'll be able to achieve more than what we've set for ourselves.
Thank you so much for speaking with us, President of the Africa Tourism Research Network, Emmanuel Frimpong. I appreciate your time and Happy New Year once again. Well, moving on to other stories, Trade and Industry Minister Katie Hammond has criticized the surge in cement prices at the beginning of the year. Despite the government creating an enabling environment for businesses, the current price of cement on the market contradicts the government's recent assertion of recovery in the sector. Katie Hammond describes the act as a conspiracy among producers and importers, and he says his ministry will announce a series of actions to deal with the situation.
Of the cement producers and importers have again conspired and decided to increase the price of 50 kilos of cement by a considerable figure. Now, I don't think that is right. I do not accept that is right. The government has provided all the necessary ambience, all the regulatory framework, a proper environment for these companies to operate and do their business profitably. I've always maintained that these institutions and organizations, these companies are not charitable institutions or organizations. I expect that they make their reasonable profit. What I don't accept is to take the people of Ghana for granted. Cement price 50 kilos already too high under any circumstances. Now, I can't understand the basis for a decision to increase the price by, in some cases, as high as about 5 cedis or so for a 50 kilo bag of 50 kilo. I do not understand. What I find a little bit more atrocious is the fact that a few companies which recently were suspended from playing any role in the industry because they were they were producing substandard quality of cement, have also decided to increase their prices. I mean, they are increasing their prices for the substandard that they were producing, or they are now increasing their prices as a price that we have to pay for them to produce quality products in the country. I find it disgusting. Of course, we are not in the command economy where government, institution, government authority, government in power, as it's able to tell consumer producers what to charge for their product. But I think they should reciprocate government gesture for all that government is doing to ensure that there is the atmosphere.
Before we go, Ecobank Ghana PLC has appointed Abnose Poku as its substantive managing director and regional executive for the Anglophone West Africa region of the Ecobank Group. This confirms an earlier Joy Business story. Her appointment took effect from the 1st of January 2024. She takes over from Joanna Mensah, who is the immediate past acting managing director, a position she assumed from August 15, 2023, following the retirement of former managing director Dan Saki. Mrs. Osei Poku is an accomplished Pan-African business leader with over 25 years of experience in the financial services industry. Her expertise spans corporate and investment banking, business banking, and risk management at the regional level. She is the immediate past MD of Absa Bank Ghana. And that's the marketplace. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. You can read more about our top story, Ghana's official creditors convening for debt restructuring talks on January 8, also on the appointment of Abnose Poku as Ecobank Ghana MD. myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Daryl. We will be back same time next week.